Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, The Whole Package, Tailoring Total Rewards with Data-Driven Insights. My name is Raviola. I work with content in Simos Cloud's marketing team, and today I'll be your moderator. And we have an exciting guest with us today. Her name is Sandrine Bardot. She is the CEO and founder of the Bardot Group, a total rewards thought leader, influencer, if you may, expert and advisor. And we'll also be hearing from Frosina Jankowska, who is going to show a short demonstration towards the end of webinar. She's our senior customer success manager. Today, we have this exciting webinar. We are going to explore the topic of personalization in total rewards, personalized compensation and benefits, and how the ability to tailor to individual preferences enables companies to attract and retain top talent while increasing loyalty and motivation. We are just going to mention briefly about Simos Cloud. For those of you who do not know us already, we are an independent software company providing HR tech solutions for more than 10 years. Our clients are successful enterprises, and there's more than 35 from the list, the Global Fortune 500 list in our among our clients right now, and we are gaining some more as we talk, which is great news. We have great partners. Our partners are leading enterprise software vendors such as Microsoft, SAP, and Oracle. And we are dealing with employee experience. We have 4 solutions that tackle employee experience from all sides. One is our flagship solution for recognition and rewards, Job Points. Then we have Nurture, internal communications solution. We have Skills for managing, identifying, reporting, and running a skills strategy of a company. And finally, we also have a well-being solution that helps and assists companies achieve their employees' health and well-being, and also sustainability practices. Today's agenda will talk about creative and actionable ways to personalize benefits. And we'll also talk about current market standards for personalization and total rewards. We'll have an in-depth interview with our esteemed guest, Sandrine Bardot. We'll have a quick demo by Frosina. And finally, we'll leave some time for the Q&A with our guests, with our audience. A little bit about house rules. As I've mentioned before, you can use the chat option to introduce yourself and also ask some questions. You can use the Q&A function to pose questions for Sandrine. And for anyone who has to leave early, we'll send out a webinar recording shortly after the webinar. This is Sandrine. She's our guest speaker today. She is the CEO and founder of the Bardot Group that's been operating for more than 10 years by now. She's an award-winning compensation and benefits expert with a 28-year career in the field of total rewards. She had held roles with increasing responsibilities at Apple, Microsoft, Airbus, Philips, Fiat, and more. And her journey led her to become the global head of performance and rewards at Al Futtaim in Dubai and later at Mubadala in Abu Dhabi. So the Bardot Group has been providing specialized compensation and benefits consulting, training, and keynote speaking services across the GCC, Asia, and Africa. Sandrine's practical hands-on approach ensures that projects have an immediate business value, avoiding the fate of remaining idea on the shelf. Just to set our tone for today's conversation, I would like us to look at a few statistics. We know that the landscape of employee expectations is changing rapidly. We know that the one-size-fits-all approach does not cut it anymore, and employees are expecting more and more. So here are 3 statistics that I've outlined for today that I think make the most sense. By 2024, a staggering 85% of organizations will be prioritizing personalization. This means tailoring rewards programs to individual needs and preferences of employees. Finally, we know that increasing number of HR leaders believe that offering personalized benefits is important for attracting and retaining talent. And employees are on board too. 72% are comfortable sharing their data with their employers in order to receive personalized benefit packages that truly resonate with them. And these numbers paint a clear picture. Personalization is the present and future of total rewards. But what we're going to deal with today is how to leverage data to achieve this high level of customization that employees want and need. So throughout this webinar, we'll explore strategies for harnessing data-driven insights to craft personalized total rewards programs that will engage your workforce and drive business success. So buckle up and get ready to discover how to personalize your total rewards offerings and unlock a competitive advantage in today's talent market. Time for our interview. Sandrine, hello, welcome. We're so glad to have you today with us.
Thank you.
How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling very good. Thank you so much.
Okay, I hope you were okay with my brief presentation of your bio, that I did not miss anything important. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
good. All right. If you don't mind me, I would like us to get immediate into our questions. So the first question for today would be, how can we leverage data to understand the diverse needs of our workforce?
So I think the first thing that we need to think about is we have in companies different definitions of talent. We have the employees that are having the critical skills that we need for the future of the organization. We have the long-term core employees who are going to stay here for the long time and be really the engine of the organization. And we may even consider part of our company the people who are in the orbit of the organization, such as your outsourced, your contractors, your gig workers, and so on. So all of those have different definitions, different expectations, and so on. And if you really think about it, I'll leave the outsourced, but inside the company, even though at the time of recruitment, we think of different profiles in terms of talent, we offer a single package, a single way of thinking about your base salary, your variable pay, your benefits, and so on. One single size HR policies, and this doesn't work anymore, like you were saying. So how we can use data is that the data that we're going to use is going to help us to move away from a traditional approach of thinking about how to segment our employee population, which is based on an older marketing type of approach, which is focused on demographics and life stages. So like which age or which gender my employee is, or at which part of their life are they? Are they, for example, just getting married, having their first child, preparing for retirement, and so on? It's a good approach, but it's not a very unique approach. So if you can't do anything, it's better to do that than do nothing. But I think that nowadays with data, when we analyze the data, what we can do is get into more about what people really value in the current package that we propose, what they would value, maybe that we're not proposing at the moment, but that we can try to figure out in a kind of list of different options, what they would really prefer. Because it's not just for us, the employer, to decide, like me, Sandrine, with my age and my experience, I cannot really make that decision for everybody, in a sense that if I want to personalize, I need to make sure that we go a little bit more granular than what we currently do. However, I want to also just say that we can't personalize in the sense of individualize every aspect of the package. What we can do is offer choices to people that they can play with. It's not always possible to make one option for every single employee, but already whatever we can do to have flexibility and give choice to the employees is going to bring a lot of value in terms of attraction and retention of the employees. So this is what we will use the data for.
Okay, thank you. So if I understood you correctly, we are aiming for a kind of balance, golden balance between what is actually possible for
Yes.
employers to provide and for what employees want. Clearly, we will not be able to satisfy every individual needs, but to be flexible, it already counts a lot.
Yes. Yes,
All
absolutely.
right. So you measured data. What types of data should we consider when personalizing total rewards?
So there are two main types of data, quantitative and qualitative, just like for any other topic. So for example, and I think the quantitative, we kind of know because we have the data that is extracted from our HR systems. We have the historical information about the employees. Sometimes we have their profile, which is uploaded from the applicant tracking system once they've been hired and merged within their employee profile and so on. So that's the kind of the quantitative aspect, but that can be supplemented by external sources, such as doing some market research. But also, sometimes we don't really think to ask our providers for information. And I'm thinking in particular, all the providers that work with insurance, for example, healthcare, to see how people are using the healthcare, all the providers that work, if we have a recognition platform in place, there is data that can be fed back to the organization in terms of there is more usage of this, for example, or that kind of a reward. So that would give us usage information as well. And then on the qualitative side, there is everything that we can do. So sometimes you will find information in exit interviews. Of course, your annual employee engagement survey, if you have one, but also I would say specific surveys, interviews, and one tool that we don't use enough, I think, in human resources, which is employee focus groups, which is where you take, let's say, 8 to 15 employees. They have to be confident that what they're saying is not going to be used by the company. So it needs to be driven by somebody who's external to the organization. And you drive them through a semi-guided conversation where they can express their feedback, but you have like kind of paved the way on the different topics that you want to cover over the course usually of 90 minutes to 2 hours. And it's a tool that I use with some of my clients, and usually drives a lot of very excellent in-depth qualitative feedback that can be reused throughout the let's say the design and the deployment process, and also like in marketing for communication, because we can reuse the words that those employees used in order to communicate to the employees in their own language, which helps a lot as well.
Thank you. This is great. So you are talking about qualitative and quantitative data.
Yes.
With
Yes.
quantitative data, the one being pulled from the HR core systems, and the qualitative one being pulled from various sources, including various vendors, for example, health services or rewards and recognition providers that offer plenty of data. Then also surveys, interviews, as you said, employee focus groups. I am sure those 2-hour sessions can offer plenty of benefits for those companies that do provide this kind of effective granulation of employee needs. Thank you, Sandrine. Moving on to the next question. How can data-driven insights enhance the effectiveness of our total reward strategies?
So I think that once you get your data, you can analyze things, because when you do a survey, this is what the intention of the employees. It talks about the intention of the employees, but there is often what is called the gap between say and do. And the behaviors are sometimes not the same as the intentions. So I want to use an example that was shared during a webinar that I attended by the good people at Unilever, who have very famously personalized their total rewards packages. And they were talking about this survey that they did, and where they were saying, would you prefer to have more base salary or more variable pay? And the millennials at that point in time were saying, we want more variable pay because we want the opportunity to earn more in total, blah, blah, blah. And then once they implemented the system, they actually found that the people who were using the most the system to get more base pay and less variable pay were the millennials. So they were a little bit surprised. And then they realized that maybe it had to do with millennials nowadays being in their 30s and early 40s, facing some situations in life where maybe you need to get married, you have to reimburse in the US. Student debt is very important. It's in Europe not so much important because we have good public education system and relatively less costly than in the US. But you might have your first children, buying a home, and so on. And so you want to have maybe a little bit more stability. And so the intention and the reality are not always the same. So it's important to have the data to understand that. But also because the data will help us to not just go with our gut feeling based on the previous experience. So me, I've been working in comp and ben for 30 years. I could say, oh, I saw a similar situation at this client or that previous employer, and therefore this is going to be how people are going to react. And each company is different because their workforce is different, the challenges are different, the culture, the location is different. And so the gut feeling sometimes guides us in the right direction, but it's better to have a data-driven information. And I want to highlight one thing because that's kind of a pet peeve of mine. So I'm gonna say take the opportunity. Here in the Gulf countries, I find that a lot of companies don't really want to spend money for participating in salary surveys, okay? So where you can get the feedback on how much you're really paying your employees compared to the market. And I never understand that. All those same companies are all saying, we want to be market-driven, we want to be data-driven. They spend hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in marketing and so on to do lots and lots of surveys. And they don't want to spend $7,000 to participate to a salary survey that would allow them to see if they are underpaying, therefore having to replace their employees probably faster, and they have other costs on another line of their P&L, or overpaying, which means that it's not good for their profit at the end of the year. And they don't want to spend that amount of money, but there is such a huge return on investment on getting that data, because if you compare it to the total cost of your salaries, it's nothing. So why you don't want to spend the time and the money to get that information? The data helps you to make the best decisions for your organization. So very important.
So once you collect data, why not use it to your benefit?
Yeah, exactly. But even just pay to collect it. Come on, get it. Don't just say that you want the data and then do nothing to actually get the data that you need.
Okay, so now that you also mentioned some challenges, what would you say are challenges in using data for personalizing total rewards, and how can we overcome them?
Yeah, so I would say that sometimes the data is not always available to us. Not all organizations have sophisticated tracking systems that allow them to connect the information, for example, from the customer side and the employee side. We do have sometimes challenges around data privacy. So yes, employees usually are okay to share their information, but not always on an individual basis. They're kind of okay to share it on an anonymous basis, especially when it comes to benefits such as health, for example, because or even mental health, which is more on the well-being side, because they don't want people to know what I am going through, maybe as a statistic, but not as an individual. So we have to kind of respect those boundaries. And I think that one of the other challenges that we have is that let's not use the data so much that we want to offer so much flexibility that we don't feed the core basic needs of everybody. So I think that as much as we want to have flexibility and personalization, we always need to maintain and define a core of total rewards. Like you couldn't say, for example, if somebody told you, I'm 23 years old, I'm in good health, I don't want to have a health insurance, and I want instead to have, I don't know, a bigger gym allowance, or I don't know, whatever. You can't say that. You need to, because first of all, nobody is in good health forever, unfortunately. That's a reality, and we need to have a minimum core of support and service that we offer to the employees. Um, which sometimes is just what the law is requiring, but in many cases it goes above and beyond what the law requires. The law is really the minimum, but you want to do better, especially if you're in a war for talent, or if you have some very critical skills that you need to retain, because they are the ones that bring a lot of value to your organization.
Okay, thank you. You bring to light a very interesting concept, the core base of total rewards, something that is needed for the entire workforce, and then
Yes.
that is opposed to the
Yes.
granular, individualized
Yes.
approach. All right.
Yes.
Time is flying by very fast in this conversation,
Yes.
so we'll move on to the second part of our interview, in which we focus on data and tech. So you already sort of tangentially touched upon this, but how can companies balance innovation with the need for a consistent and fair reward system?
So, of course, the core total rewards is important. So I want to maybe clarify what I mean. I used to work for Microsoft, for example, and one of our benefits that we were offering was always life and accidental death and dismemberment. That was like, even in countries where it was not mandated by law, we were offering it. And we had made a decision at the time to provide a certain amount of money in terms of numbers of annual base salary that would go to the recipient of that life insurance if our employee were to pass away while they're an employee, not necessarily while they're at work, but while they're an employee of the organization. And if I remember well, but that was a long time ago, at the time it was 2 years of salary. And in a lot of countries, that was higher than market practice, that was higher than legal requirement. But for us, it was important that this was the minimum we would provide. And actually, in some countries, we were providing even more, because we had decided it would be a differentiator for us to offer that as part of the package. So we were going above and beyond. So this is what I mean by a core of a reward. It's really thought through concept. So that's the first thing. But I think also, to balance innovation and consistency, an important concept is to do either simulations or to run pilots. You don't necessarily always want to deploy all your solution for the whole organization at once. You want to make sure that it's working, how it's received, how you can improve your communication, and so on. And so very often, companies will run, especially for something which is really new and has not been tested, they will run a pilot to make sure it doesn't have any unintended effects, right? Get the feedback. And I think the third point I would say is to try and establish how you're going to track this fairness and track your KPIs related to that. And I think it's a concept which is becoming more and more important in organizations. Maybe not as important in 15 years ago, but nowadays becoming more important. Irrespective of what your definition of diversity and inclusion is. For example, where I am in the GCC, it's very much focused on gender, male, female only. So maybe in the US, that would be a different definition, but also nationality. We have the UAE nationals or the Saudi nationals, so the national citizens versus the expats. It's often something that we also have to look at, because we have such diversity. So we try to make sure that we balance those two. And that might be a different definition of what diversity and inclusion is somewhere else. But we want to make sure that the impact is not over exaggerated for one group, in good or in bad, by the way, and non-existent for another group. We want it to be distributed, unless that's a feature of what we're trying to implement. If you're saying, for example, in the UK at the moment, lots of companies are saying, I want to implement a campaign for menopause because we have an aging population. We have lots of women who are working, and therefore that's obviously a treatment for menopause will not be of interest to a young man. Okay, that's just not gonna make it. But if it's not something which is designed to target a very unique segment of your employee population, you need to make sure that everybody can get the same access and the same benefit.
Thank you, Sandrine. The very, very extensive answer. What you mentioned about introducing a new projects as pilot projects is something we've had experience with, and it usually works very well.
Yes.
First, introduce it to a section of the workforce, then it goes well, and then
Yes.
increase the program
Yes.
reach. All right. Thank you. Moving on to next question. What role does technology play in driving the latest trends in personalized rewards?
So I think I'm going to go a little bit general on that one. Is the history of general technology. We have seen the mass customization in the consumer market, and this is creating expectations for people. Expectations for solutions that are mobile friendly, always on with an instant access. I think in the past 10 years has really shaped a lot of the solutions that we need to put in place. I recently discovered, for example, an organization where they have lots of front-facing employees, but some of their solutions are only accessible through a computer. And those employees don't have access or easy access to a computer. And I'm like, I think you need to think about moving to making it more mobile friendly so that they can access it on their phone, or even if they have a work iPad, because some of them, like, I don't know, waitress might have a work iPad where you couldn't have on that work iPad also some applications that are related to your internal usage, not just for taking the orders and tracking the tables. So I think that's the kind of the last 10 years. And in the more recent years, what we're seeing as well is the younger generation being less interested in face-to-face interaction. And therefore, this rise of, although everybody says that they hate the chatbots, and especially the vocal ones where you need to call and dial this for dial 1 for this, dial 2 for that, and then you get lost in that kind of solution. But I think it's important that technology will also help us drive a way of interacting with the employees that suits every style of employees as well. So that also plays a role, because if people feel comfortable with how they get the information, they will use those benefits more.
Thank you. I'm glad you mentioned the need, the rising need for reaching to deskless workforce. We know that about 80% of the global workforce is deskless. Historically, this large segment of the working population has been vastly ignored, but now more and more solutions are made to target them. We have internal communications, if I may just plug this info, that reaches workforce via SMS. So internal communications incredibly important, and also recognition solutions that can reach people in their flow of work, where they are, wherever they are. And this is extremely important for recognition, which needs to be timely and immediate. Okay, this is so interesting talking to you, but we are almost running out of time. So I'm just gonna switch to the last section of our interview. Frosina, not yet, just a few questions. Give me a few more. I would like to switch to the culture in data section and ask you, Sandrine, how do cultural differences impact the design and implementation of personalized rewards programs?
So I think if we think of culture, there are the different generations that are in the workplace at the same time. And of course, they don't react to things in the same way. They're not interested in the same way. They don't want to be communicated to in the same way. I think the location is also an important factor. So if you're a single country, maybe that has less of an impact. But like if you're starting to be a multinational and you have operations in Western Europe and the Middle East and Asia, you will notice that the local culture, like culture in the general sense of that country, also has an impact on how people share feedback, how people interact with opportunities and what is coming to them. And then the company culture is also very important, because you have some organizations that have more differentiation and some companies that are more like, no, we all follow the same kind of process and protocol. We have organizations that empower the line managers more or less. So that also has an impact. And also the trust that they give to the employees that you can see. And I'm thinking in particular, the hot topic of the moment is work from home and hybrid work. And a lot, well, once you put aside the amounts, the obscene amounts of money that are spent in real estate and that might be driving this kind of return to office conversation, a lot of the secondary conversation is more about managers wanting to check what the employees are doing. And so the trust is not necessarily there, and not understanding that their role can move to that of a coach. And when I say manager, that can include the CEO of the company. There are some very famous CEOs who are against working from home. So I think all those aspects will have an impact on what you will design for your employees, because if you gather that information, and that's where the qualitative information that I was discussing at the beginning is going to shine and help you to design something that will really fit for what your company is about and its current location and ways of working.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And before we hand it over to Frosina, one last question. Can you share some examples of organizations that successfully use data to tailor their total rewards programs?
Yes. So the most famous one is probably Unilever. Unilever designed an internal system called UFlex, where basically they used data to offer people the opportunity to either increase or decrease the fixed part of their pay, which is their base salary and their benefits, and in exchange for more or less variable pay in their short-term plan, their annual bonus or sales plan, and their long-term incentive plans if they were on one. And basically they were telling people once a year, you can choose to allocate a certain portion of your total package. So if you want more base pay, you take it from your variable pay. There's a discount because you're increasing the permanent costs of the company. So I don't know which percentage they use. So I'm going to use a theoretical number. $100 of bonus becomes $75 of fixed pay. Or the opposite, if you want to have more variable pay, you receive $100 less on your base pay, but you get $125 for you. So that's the kind of choice that they were using. And this was all driven by data. They did a lot of work. They used AI to help them anticipate the allocations and so on. So very famous, and you can find articles there. But I also know of companies that are smaller, because I think a lot of times smaller companies kind of worry that this is like, oh, only the big companies with tens or hundreds of thousands of employees can do that. So I was part of this networking group where we had a Latin American tourist company where they have like restaurants and entertainment opportunities, like, I don't know, diving in the sea or how do you call it, parachuting and stuff like that. And what they did is that this company created a questionnaire that they sent to all employees with a set of questions around, do you know about this aspect of the package? Do you use it? How are you happy with it? Which value would you give to it? So the question was not that, the question was an amazing question. If you were to be moving to another company and they don't offer that aspect of the package, how much more money would they have to give to you for you to give up that thing? So there you get a real sense of the value that the employees place on the package, and they were able to analyze that and see a gap. And sometimes you have results that can be very surprising. So there was another company based in the Netherlands, and what they found is that if their managers were giving instant face-to-face recognition to their employees, that was valued as much as a 5% employee-based pay increase. The impact of the line managers in terms of recognition, whether it's using a service like yours, but also by recognizing and talking to the employee is amazing. They also found out, for example, that flexible working hours were considered an equivalent of like if you were taking away their flexible working hours, the employees would need a salary increase of X in order to consider that they would be made whole. So that allowed them to say, okay, if we're going to offer more flexibility or less flexibility, what do we put in exchange for that? So you can really work with data by running those employee surveys and getting the feedback from your employees and finding the time to analyze the gap between the cost that it takes you and the difficulty to implement something or to take it away and the perceived value of the employee, because they're sometimes very different, and you might find some low-hanging fruit that you can really implement even in a deskless environment, because this tourism company is not an office-based type of company. They have some positions, but most of them are customer-facing or in the back of the house, so they're not going to be your traditional office-based employees. So I think it's important to show that any type of organization can really get there if they want to have the creativity and make the effort to get there.
Wow, thank you. I'm glad you touched upon the option of experiential rewards. We are finding that it's increasingly popular, and also glad that you mentioned how valuable recognition, employee appreciation is. To some, it would be low-hanging fruit, to some, it would not, but it definitely is effective. And as we conclude our interview, I'd like to encourage our audience to pose some questions, please. Use the Q&A function. And now we're going to hand it over to Frosina, who is going to show us the environment of a rich reward system and how does it look like from an employee's point of view. Stick around and we'll be back for the audience questions. Thank you, Sandrine. Hi, Frosina, welcome, and take it away.
Thank you, Yaya, and thank you for the great introduction. And of course, thank you, Sandrine, for sharing these valuable data insights when it comes to Total Rewards. I'm Frosina, working as a Senior Customer Success Manager here at Simos Cloud. And today I have the pleasure to present you a brief demo on how our job point system supports the Total Rewards offerings and how we are helping companies to promote a variety of rewards and just keep the employees motivated. So let me just share my screen quickly. Let me know when you can see it. Okay.
We
Should
see
be good
it.
now. Perfect.
We can see it.
Thank you for confirmation. So then let's start. First, I will explain the types of job points recognition programs, how they relate to the monetary rewards, and lastly, the most interesting part for all of us here, how can a user use their points and redeem a specific reward. As soon as a user logs in on the system, they will be greeted with this landing page that we see here. So from the left hand side, there is a social feed. It is like a news feed that shows all recognitions happening within the company. And each user can interact with the posts, react to them, or even comment or mention someone if they want to, and just build the momentum of appreciation culture. From the right side, we have a panel with a few tiles, each tile serving as a clickable button to direct the user to a specific module. So to start with the recognition process, the user just needs to click on the recognize tile that we have here, after which a list of all available programs will be listed. What is interesting here is that besides having a simple non-monetary recognition program that serves for saying kudos or thank you to a colleague, our system also supports monetary recognition programs, nomination programs that could be monetary as well, and just to give the winner a specific number of points to reward them for a job well done. And also a swag program that we see here, and we are giving the users the chance to redeem a swag product. While most of these programs are monetary, for the purpose of this demo, I will continue with sending a monetary recognition program, which is the Spot Award program that we see here. So as soon as I click on the Spot Award monetary recognition program, I will be redirected to the next screen, which asks me to choose which monetary value I would like to send to the recipient. And of course, depending on the program's configuration, these values are customizable. And let's say that I would like to award my colleague with 100 points along with my recognition message. I will just continue by clicking on the Send to button. On this page here, I would need to search for the recipient, the person that I wish to give 100 points to. I will type Sophie here because she has done a great job and I would like to acknowledge her and reward her with those 100 points. Here, as soon as I select the recipient and click on the plus button, I will just continue with our last step of the recognition, which is to add message. On here, I need to select an award reason, giving further information which award value this recipient has demonstrated. For example, respect or maybe integrity. I will go with respect for here. And after that, I need to write an appreciation message. So I have prepared a message here for the purpose of this demo. And in addition to my appreciation message, of course, I can add an e-card maybe. I can choose from the default ones, or maybe for each company, we can produce the customized ones. For example, you did great job. So it gives a nice feel, or maybe I would choose to go with a GIF. Let's go with the e-card one. And additionally, if I want to add some attachment or upload some file or image with Sophie, I can do that just by clicking on this button here. Additionally, when we are on the appreciation message, we have this cool AI indicator that evaluates the message quality and shows what is the percentage of quality and the areas of improvement for it. So I can see the areas of improvement here, the uniqueness, examples, traits, job well done. And because the quality indicator here is colored green, next step is just to click on the send button, where I will see that the recognition has been sent successfully. So just going back on the social feed page, depending on the configurations that we have for a specific program, the monetary program can be straight published on the social feed like this, or it can undergo some levels of approvals, maybe if it comes for a higher amount of points. So what this means is that the recipient, Sophie here, has received 100 points, and she can use them to buy some compelling reward for herself. Now I will put myself in Sophie's shoes and showcase you how a user can redeem a reward on job points. First step is to check how many points I have available on my job points account. And in this top right corner here, I can see that I have 730 points. Converted to my local currency means that I have $730 to spend. And next thing, I would need to go in the redeem tile here from the social feed page. And by clicking on it, I will be directed to the different rewards catalogs available on the system. What makes job points exclusive is that the global catalog here gives a dynamic experience, and it is available in more than 150 countries. And interestingly enough, the dynamic reward catalog provides suggestions for the employees based on their redemption history. So here we can see the buy again slider. I have bought a Foot Locker gift card. Then we have some trending rewards such as lunch with management, or maybe the other one, which is branded coffee mug that I have trending. And also gifts that are similar to what the user has bought already, in this case me, of course, and I can find all of those in the just for you section. So unlike the other platforms, our catalog comes without any markups. Here we are just ensuring that the employee receives the full value of their points and they're just enjoying their rewards. And aside from these personalizations above, we have a variety of categories available where the users can find their perfect reward. We have e-gifts where they can choose from a lot of different vendors. Then we have experiences where the users can book a tour maybe or create lasting memories with travel, entertainment, and so on. Then we have virtual cards where user can buy a virtual card to enjoy digital transactions. We have Amazon merchandise. We have also donations. If they want to give back of their points to a cause they care about, then we have custom store where employees can choose customized products of a company's catalog, or maybe choose a personalized item for themselves. So what makes this catalog even better is that the gift and virtual cards are customized per country. And for the purpose of this demo, I will only cover the gift option, and in interest of time, because I know that we are like 5 minutes overdue. And just to redeem any gift card, the user just needs to click on the e-gift category here. And he will be presented with a lot of options that they can choose from. So once they find the product that they would like to redeem, for example, I would go with Atom tickets. I will just click on this card and it will flip and it will reveal more information about the minimum and maximum amount of points that I could spend just to buy this e-gift card. And by clicking on the arrow here, I'm continuing with the next step where a slider will be shown. So I can choose how many points I would like to spend on this specific gift card. As soon as I select the points, the next step and the final step is to click on the next button here. And I will be presented with the final screen that here all details about the gift card. I have redeemed the e-gift card, and I will receive an email notification with further details and information on how to use this e-card. So at the end, I would just like to highlight that all of these experiences from the redeem catalog that we have, they are the redemption category. The redemption process is really straightforward and it's easy to follow. It is really user friendly, and this way, besides having the variety of rewards options, we are ensuring seamless redemption of the rewards. And that's pretty much it from my side. Yoya, if you have anything to add, or if the audience has any questions to ask, feel free to use the chat section or maybe the Q&A one.
Thank you, Frosina. Thank you. This was a great and lively demonstration of what job points can do. I'm especially glad that you showed so many choices of customized benefits that employees can choose based on their preferences, the showing of rewards based on trending items or their previous choices. Now I'm rushing a bit because we are beyond time, but we have 2 questions. So Sandrine, would you prefer to answer them now, or would you prefer to answer them later via email?
Now is good.
Okay, so one question from Bella is the following. I'd be interested to hear from Sandrine her views on delinking pay increases and bonuses from performance ratings that are forced into bell curve. If we don't follow a pay for performance approach, what's the best way to manage salary increases and bonuses?
Okay, so I think that when we talk about pay for performance, we tend to lump together the salary increases and the bonuses, but actually you could kind of delink part of it. because you could have a process where you say salary is evolving based on evolution of skills and competencies. Cost of living became a bigger topic again in the last few years after COVID and the war in Ukraine and everything. Of course, cost of living in the Western world became an issue again. It was never completely far away in some of the emerging countries, but I think for the West, it was a bit of a shock to discover that you could have more than 2 or 3% of inflation per year. So you could definitely have a salary evolution, which is linked to career development, skills development, job enrichment, initiatives, how you behave with your values, your alignment to the values, and so on, and the market trends in the market, because of course we also need to take into account cost of labor. I think that for bonuses, however, it's usually a little bit more difficult to dealing them from performance. Now, if you don't want to go with individual performance, you could link bonuses to a company performance. So, for example, a profit sharing scheme would be less tied to individual performance. But if you do want to say that you have a culture of performance, you can't say I'm not measuring performance and I am still paying based on performance. That those two have to come together. So the challenge, I think, often comes from how we are applying performance management and actually applying this distribution curve. A lot of companies apply it, so they ask managers to rate their employees, and then the CEO or the director, the senior leader, just goes and changes the rating to fit the curve, which completely defeats the whole purpose of doing a calibration. But I could come back to maybe do a presentation on that, because that's actually one of my trainings. So I think it's more about the quality of the process that we use in performance management more than anything. So I hope that answers the question from Belle.
Okay. Thank you. Hope that answers the question for you, Bella. And another question from Valentina, also interesting. She said, thank you, Sandrine, insightful as usual. I agree with this. So Valentina asks, how can we balance the personalization of reward package with the need to harmonize rewards for multinational companies by considering international mobility or cross-country functions? The cost could be different.
Ooh, okay, that's like a huge question. I think that, first of all, multinationals that are kind of advanced in their total rewards journey think global, global and local at the same time. And so, for example, they might have this kind of thing that I was saying, like for Microsoft, we want to have our core benefits, but we also adapt to the local market. We pay in line with the local market. The predominant benefits that we offer are driven by the local market practice and so on. When it comes to international mobility, I don't think that international mobility comes as much into the concept of the personalized package, because international mobility already looks at the type of expatriation that you are sending. Is it like a leader that you're sending to turn around a business unit which is failing in one country? Is it a high potential that you're sending to another country to grow their skills so that they can become a leader of a company in the future? Is it an employee who has personal ties to a certain country and is asking to be relocated there, and we don't really have a job for them, so they're going to move maybe more on a local package? So already you're looking at the kind of movement that you're doing in international mobility, and then you have to look at your tax and cost of living. But I think that once the person is in the country, and if in that country there is maybe some aspect that can be changed, most probably you wouldn't change the base salary and the allowances that they receive, because there's a massive tax impact. But maybe some of the other aspects of personalization through, for example, well-being, employee assistance programs, recognition schemes, and so on, can still be applied to those people. So you have to really think. I did not think about this in much in depth, so I can't go much in depth, but I would say this is how would approach personalization for that very specific part of the employee population.
Well, Sandrine, when you say you're not going very much in depth, I don't believe you. Just out of the head, you produced a very in-depth answer, which just speaks of your expertise. Bella says thank you, and she appreciates your response, and I'm sure Valentina does too. I would like to thank you in the name of CMOS Cloud and our audience. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for speaking about these topics that are of high interest
Thank you.
to companies. And yes, Valentina says, thank you, Sandrine. Of course, I appreciate. And the smiley face.
Thank you.
We all appreciate. And we are more than happy to host you on another session if you are willing to. We can discuss the topics later on.
Yes.
And with that, I would like to thank everyone and conclude today's session. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.